It has been just over a week since I released a video titled The Mascot Horror Sweatshop (Allegedly). Banger title, I know. This video was about a fairly new publisher in the indie horror space called Mascot Studio. Although none of their published games were majorly successful, all of their work has been covered by some major content creators. This was concerning to me when I started doing research on the company, mostly due to the fact that I was already aware that at least one of their developers was barely 14 years of age. As I researched for literally months, I just found more and more problems that raised more and more concerns as to the safety and legitimacy of this new business. All of that time and research eventually amounted into this video where I discussed all the concerns I had. I mostly did this so people were made aware of it, but I was also hoping that it would actually cause some change. With how much time I invested into making sure I got that video right, I did many times question if it was going to be worth it, because with the information at the time, I really had no reason to believe that they would actually listen to me, aside from how cordial they were during the interview I held with them in preparation for the video. However, I am here to tell all of you that Mascot Studio has basically fixed every issue I raised in that original video. Now, that may sound crazy, and it is, but it's also the truth. Here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to go over how Mascot directly and actively targeted and fixed the flaws I discussed in my last video. We're going to talk about the current standing of everything and what these changes actually mean. We're going to talk about some other serious things towards the end, and hopefully we can close the book on this chapter of the Mascot story. Firstly, I discussed that Mascot Studio was signing minors to their company, and that those minors were evidently not grown up enough to take on the responsibility that Mascot was placing onto them. Not that their level of maturity really makes a difference there. This was the main reason I ever made the video. It's not really any of my business if adults are consciously doing goofy things, and it's not the end of the world if some more mediocre mascot horror titles are hitting the market, but with these developers being as young as 14, it's objectively predatory to be signing them to a company, making them offers, and taking major cuts from their releases. If there was anything I wanted from my efforts in that video, it was to make sure the kids involved were removed, to completely eliminate the possibility of them being taken advantage of. Thankfully, Mascot Studio was pretty understanding of this. They claimed to understand the problems with working with these younger developers, whether or not they were purposely taking advantage of them. We also did discuss the behavior of TNP Games, which was another major part of my video, and we will unfortunately be talking about that later as well. They also claim to not be aware of Combo Bomb Games' age, which, in fairness, is believable, because I couldn't figure out their age despite my inordinate amount of research, and I wouldn't exactly expect a kid to be honest about that kind of thing. It is really upsetting that they didn't do enough critical thinking before to remove these developers without my video, and it's especially upsetting they didn't take any action after TNP's behavior, and that they didn't even go out of their way to confirm Combo's age. In fact, that does also mean that Combo's contract was never even legally binding, because their parents didn't sign on to it, as Mascot didn't even know they had to. However, after talking to them enough and the action they've taken lately, I do think this has been a learning experience for them. Because Mascot Studio has officially announced the removal of Playtown, Playtown 2, and Toytopia from Steam, and the removal of TNP Games from the company. Combo Bomb Games would have been removed as well, but they kind of just left on their own accord, not wanting to be with Mascot anymore, before my video was even made. So, to make a long story short, we did exactly what I wanted to do with that original video. There were a lot of things to talk about, but ultimately I most wanted the Underage developers to be let go for their own safety. And Mascot was very understanding of that and acted on it basically immediately. But let's get into the specifics. What does all this mean? Playtown and Toytopia are no longer available for purchase on Steam, but that doesn't change the accessibility for those that already purchased the game. Playtown and its sequel, releasing in about a month, are now self-published by the developer exclusively on itch, and Toytopia likely won't be re-released. I don't see that happening, but the developer does intend on completely remaking it from the ground up without the additional stress of a publisher. As for the playability of Toytopia though, as that was another major part of my last video, Mascot actually reverted the game from version 1.2 to the original version 1. This version is very unoptimized, but it's totally fine at very low settings. So the game is now beatable. It's buggy, but it's beatable. The developer does intend on releasing a patch for those that have the game in their library, but they've been having some difficulties doing so, running into a lot of problems. So hopefully that'll be done in the near future, but regardless, the game is in a playable state without having to manually downpatch it. So we pretty much got the perfect ending in that regard. Playtown and Toytopia are fully playable for those that paid for it, but their underage developers are no longer signed to Mascot Bros Studio. Again, I wish it didn't take my video to make all that happen, but ultimately they did the right thing in the end, and I have faith they'll continue to make better decisions. As for the remaining developers and the game still being published, there's Stop Shut Games with Tilt and Unreal Games with Bobo's Fun Zone. There really isn't anything to say, to my understanding. The only time I spent discussing those two in my video was spent discussing that Mascot Bro takes 40% of revenue from developers, but doesn't actually do all that much for them to take such a sizable amount. And Mascot Bro Studio has not said anything about changing the percentage they take or doing more to earn that percentage, which, yeah, I think is kind of ridiculous. However, the only real reason I had to talk about that in the first place was to supply some evidence that they were taking advantage of their younger developers aside from their age alone. If Stop Shut and Unreal are content with the deal, then that's fine. That's their decision to make. I still think it's silly to give up 40% of the profit of your game when you can easily publish the game yourself, but again, it's not really important if that's what they want to do. Lastly, before we talk about some stuff mostly unrelated to Mascot Bro, there's Circus of TimTim, the purchased models, and the AI-generated looking logo. Circus of TimTim has yet to go down in price, which I am personally not a fan of. I think a game of this quality does not warrant a $9 price tag. But I guess that doesn't matter all that much. If players are dissatisfied with the purchase, they can refund the game, and the game is at the very least totally functional. I just feel like the game should be priced more reasonably, and obviously I don't like its lack of original characters. However, the Mascot Bros Studio logo has officially changed. It is no longer a character from an asset pack that plenty of people already used. It is an actual Mascot Bro original. Mascot Bro does deny the original logo being AI generated, which, don't get me wrong, I'm skeptical about, but I will take their word for it. But the new one, I am very confident, is not AI generated, and it seems to be a completely original design, and that makes me happy. Mascot Bro has also apparently decided as of the start of this year that they do not intend on acquiring any more games to publish. I am not sure if this is a for now or a forever thing, but yeah, it seems we won't be getting any new devs on the roster for the time being. I'm not 100% sure what the deal with that is. So as it stands, Mascot Bros Studio has cut ties with their underage developers, they've reverted their most dysfunctional game to a more functional state, and they cleaned up their brand to be more appropriate and less cringe. I am very happy to see all of that personally. But this is something I want to make sure I say in this video. If you still do not want to support Mascot Bros Studio, that is totally reasonable and understandable. Again, it's disheartening that it took my video for anything to happen, and before this video ends, I will further supply evidence that something should have been done so much sooner. Depending on how charitably you look at this situation, you could very much argue Mascot Bro only did anything because they got caught. Although my video didn't get that popular, it definitely had the ability to affect their reputation and their bottom line, so changing those issues was simply the right move from a business perspective, even if they'd lose money removing 2 to 3 whole games. And that is a fair way to look at the situation, as we don't really know who Mascot Bro is, and it can be hard to put so much faith into them when these problems occurred in the first place. But just speaking personally, since I'm the one that's spoken to all these people and seen so many screenshots and heard all the stories and done all this research, I do think Mascot Bro understands the error of their ways. Is it possible they're a little more upset with the video I made than they've let on? I'd say so. And do I think their mistakes and some of their behavior are quite distasteful? 100%. However, I think ultimately the two creators of Mascot Bro are people, and they are bound to make mistakes and do some bad things, but are also more than capable of growing. And I just hope to see them keep up the great work they've done in the last week. So yeah, the Mascot Bros Studio saga should be over. They still have 2 games on the way and likely more in the future. They've made some pretty egregious mistakes, but I don't think they're above changing. And they've already made some major changes that are far too significant and good to not give them the credit for. But lastly, before we go, I unfortunately feel the need to discuss one more thing. In the last video, I discussed the continuing and growing controversies of now former Mascot Bro developer TNP Games. I was very easy on them, as they are only 14 years old, and I am still going to extend that shared ability, even though a lot of people in the comments think I shouldn't. But I really do think that him being 14 makes his actions not necessarily more forgivable, but somewhat more excusable. If he has not changed at all in a few years, and is still in the public eye to any extent, then go ahead and rip him to shreds. But he is a kid, so I don't care too much about how stupid he is. However, this is information I feel the need to share with you, the audience, now that he is fully independent. Because just like with Mascot Bro, I'm not here to tell you how to feel or what to do. I'm here to give you the information and my personal thoughts to allow you to form your own opinion. And after my Mascot Bro video came out, I got way more messages about TNP Games than I did Mascot Bro. This kid has lost his goddamn mind. TNP Games does not just use bigoted language on the regular, as we discussed. He also just treats people terribly, constantly, just all the goddamn time. I knew it was really bad. I had no idea it was this bad, or that there was this much of it. And what makes it even worse is that TNP is going out of their way to relentlessly harass individuals that disapprove of this behavior. When all the screenshots of TNP being homophobic and racist became common knowledge in their circle, he lost a lot of friends and connections, most notably Combo Bomb Games. And he has not let any of those people live it down. The sheer amount of vitriol and hatred TNP has shown to those that reasonably cut him off is insane. He even does it publicly, albeit to a much lesser degree. One of his most recent tweets is adding Combo Bomb Games, basically publicly pleading to be friended on Discord. Allegedly, there's even a joke in the upcoming Playtown 2 that straight up implies throwing Combo in the trash. Real classy. Allegedly, he is using a character made by a former member of his team and refusing to credit them correctly. Allegedly, he leveraged evidence of someone else's self-harm over them. Allegedly, he is using AI-generated art many times in his next game, even though he boasts around that he has such a large team. From racism to homophobia to targeted harassment to utter theft, this guy just cannot stop doing bad things. And I feel like I have no choice but to bring this up out of respect for the literal victims in this scenario, and out of respect for the remaining audience this kid has that might not know how terrible this situation actually is. I feel like it's my responsibility to at least make the people that have watched this late into the video aware of this. TNP, if you are watching this, I'm going to speak directly to you for a moment. You are just a kid. I understand that. I blew up on YouTube when I was only 16. I was the most popular I have ever been on YouTube when I was 16. I'm nowhere near that point right now. And I made a lot of mistakes that I will regret forever now, because I will forever be unable to escape them because I was in the public eye before having time to grow, get my morals straight, and not make big mistakes. My reputation is forever tarnished because of mistakes I made when I was still a young teenager, and I cannot take that back. I know how hard it is to lose so much because of mistakes you've made on, impulse, and I know how confusing and complicated it is to try to grow up and develop normally while also having all these eyes on you as you naturally make mistakes along the way. However, your response to the outcome of these situations has been disgusting. When I made mistakes publicly, way back in the day, I lost a lot. And I blamed no one but myself. Sure, in hindsight, I can forgive myself because I was young and I have changed plenty in the last few years. But ultimately, I made some really bad decisions, and the loss of those relationships and connections I had at the time was totally a valid consequence. You need to stop blaming and outwardly hurting other people in response to your own mistakes. I am being very fair and very gentle and very charitable, given all of the things there is evidence of you doing. But again, I understand that you are still at an age where you simply need to learn. And that's the thing. I am not here to bully you, and I'm not here to cancel you, because I don't believe that will help you learn. I am merely asking you to listen to me. Your behavior is disgusting, and your treatment of other people has been disgusting. You need to do better. You need to take responsibility for your actions, and you need to start treating people with respect, because you are not better than those people. Turning back to the audience, don't worry, I didn't forget about y'all. Again, I am bringing this situation with TNP up out of respect for the people that have been hurt by his actions and have been reaching out to me to, at the very least, make it known that this is happening, because his games are being sold going forward. So, although again, I'm not here to cancel TNP Games and tell you to not support him, I'm giving you the information to decide on whether or not you want to. That is going to be all for this video. Again, thank you, Mascot Bro, for being so communicative with me throughout this situation, and I really do hope you guys continue to do better in the future. Thank you to the Toytopia team and everyone else that reached out to me and contacted me following my last video, and thank you for the support on my content, as always. I really appreciate it. That's going to be all for me. I'll see you guys later.